Welcome to Insights into Success, where with your host Paul Dodds, we hope to educate, inspire and motivate you to achieve your own personal success. We talk to guests from all around the world from a variety of walks of life to hear the realities of their own journey to success. What challenges have they faced? How have they coped with failure? And what have been the keys or will be the keys to their own success? In our Read to Succeed interviews, we talk books that have inspired our guests, and for some, they share their secrets to marketing success. Join us as we give you insights into success. All right, well, welcome back to Insights into Success, where we're now doing a short segment called Read to Succeed. A special guest, Joe Rea, who was on another episode recently. He's going to take over now, and he's going to share with us some books that have inspired him in his incredibly interesting journey so far. So, Joe, take it away.
Oh, thank you so much. All right, I had to pull out my trusty phone here to kind of go through a couple titles. And as I'm reading through some of these, I go, oh my gosh, I could list off an ungodly amount of books that have had so much impact. The first two that I would say I read when I was younger, in my teens, which kind of led me into entrepreneurship. And the first one's obviously Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah.
The second one is Cash Flow Quadrant, same book series. I think as a foundation, those two should be read. And I genuinely believe that every single student in school should be forced to read these two books to understand money. Just understand it a little bit better than how we were taught, at least speaking for myself. I think they're radically important and they had a gigantic impact on my life. Another one that has been really, really impactful is I was trying to find the author and I can't figure out which one it is. It's called Built to Sell. And this is a really cool book because it's talking about business, the way you structure your business and the way you operate it. So processes. And the idea being is that your company will be not only more sellable, but it'll actually be more operationally efficient if you build it with the intent to sell. You don't have to want to sell it. So we've done it with our companies. I don't have any intent in selling, most of mine, but the companies are very, very operationally efficient and they're replicable. So, we can take one business and we can launch the exact same model in another one, completely different industry, completely different service model, but it's the same thing over and over again. So our bookkeeping is going to be the same. Our financial analysis is going to be the same. Marketing is going to be the same. All of it's going to kind of work together. And so that's really, really important. And then the Win-Win Wealth Strategy by Tom Wheelwright, he's an accountant because he's a CPA, phenomenal gentleman. And it's really all about like building businesses, tax, advantages, understanding how to use real estate and business and all of that to give you the best formula for wealth. And so those are some books that I would highly, highly recommend.
And in terms of you with your reading, what style of reading do you prefer? Do you read physical books, listen to audio, Kobo, Kindle? What's your preference?
So I'm actually an audio guy. So I'm if you were to look like the modalities of how people consume information, you could be auditory, kinesthetic, visual, and auditory digital. Right. And so I'm very, very auditory. So all I have to do is listen. And for some reason, that's how I consume most effectively. And so I'm an audiobook guy more than anything else. Although, if you look around, I do have books. We have tons of books in bins in the garage. So I do have them and I do read if it's not available on audio. But I love audio because I can speed it up too. I can listen to it at 1.5 times speed. You can use it when you're doing like what do they call it? Net time. So we live on acreage. And so when I have to mow, it takes hours to mow the property. So I put in audiobooks and I'll just jam through and it's you can use that no extra time just to listen to audiobooks. And so that's really helpful for me.
And do you find like doing that, like the example of mowing the lawns, are you taking it in? Like, is your, recollection pretty good despite the fact you're doing something else at the same time?
Yeah. So again, like when you do these things like no extra time, I think Tony Robbins coined that, right? Net time. So when you do it, you're usually doing something that's kind of mindless, that doesn't require much thought. My riding lawnmower, I literally don't have to think. It's like I go around my path and it's just like I have to do my loops and I have to do all that. So I don't have to think other than like, hey, did the kids leave something in the yard that I got to go try to not run over? But other than that, I can actually give a lot of attention towards what I'm listening to. The other thing too, though, is I will pause. I'll shut off the lawnmower. If something strikes me, then I'll leave myself an audio message. I do audio messages like crazy. I actually just send Slack to myself. And I send myself audio recordings of just thoughts that I had, something that I picked up, like, oh, we could do this for this part of the business. This would be really good. Here's a marketing strategy. Here's something I can send to sales, stuff like that. And so I will stop everything. And if it's important, I'll do that.
Yeah. Sounds like a good strategy, because that's in the moment, isn't it? The key is in the moment to record it. Otherwise, you'll forget it if you leave it.
Yeah. So I know I don't even know that my wife knows what I'm doing, but I'm sure she looks at me. She's like, wait, why did you just stop? And now he's talking. Is he on the phone? What's he doing? So yeah. So I mean, I definitely probably weird out everybody.
Yeah. No, fair enough. If that works for you, then that's all that matters. So
that's right.
No, look, that's awesome. Look, I'm just keen to get people's feedback on books to read. I'm trying to create a reading list for people. They can go onto my website and check out. And the great thing is there's not been too much crossover. A lot of people are coming at it from different angles and have different types of books. So thank you so much for your contribution.
I want to add one more. I want to add one more book because, and this one may have crossover. Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, and A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. Both of those. I think that we live so much of our life either looking in anticipation of tomorrow or dwelling in the past that we forget what's the only thing that actually matters, right? Which is the moment that we're in. And so, I get on tons of podcast interviews and I notice during it, people will be looking down at their phone while they're trying to interview you. And you go, everybody's distracted. And so if we could spend more time focused on this moment, you can be so much more effective in everything you do. The way you communicate and connect with your children, the way you deal with your spouse, the way you deal with business partners and other individuals, when you honestly give your full attention and presence where you are in that moment, everybody feels it even more effective. And I think that it builds better relationships, you get better outcomes. And I think it's a better way that we should all be living, which is another reason I'm not a huge fan of social media.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a great way to wrap up. And I think it's so true. It's become more and more of an issue of people being distracted and not focused on the here and now. I've read at least one of those books, and I've gone and listened to him speak as well too. So absolutely. He's been here in New Zealand.
I would love to actually see him in person. I haven't had the opportunity yet, but I mean, I think I would probably drop almost everything to go do that because one thing that's crazy is his voice is almost like it can just viscerally become part of you, and you can feel a difference just hearing his message and how he communicates it. Yeah. It's just so simple.
Yeah, there's no stress in the tone, and he's actually quite funny. I've actually been to him twice. He's been to New Zealand twice, and he's quite funny too. Quite a dry wit, entertaining.
Oh, that'd be fun. All right, now I'm gonna have to make it a mission. I think I'm gonna make it a bucket list. I've got to see him in person.
Yeah, so he just sits he'll sit in a chair on stage and just talk, but the time flies by. You sort of think, this might, become a bit tedious of that, but the time just flies. And he's got a very calming, soothing manner about him.
I love it. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I'm glad we can connect on that. That's fantastic.
Excellent. All right, Joe. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. I know I'm taking you away from family and doing other things to do this, so that's not to be underestimated. But it's been an absolute pleasure, and really enjoyed your insights. So thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. I appreciate you having me. Thank you.